Yeah, I know.
Good morning and welcome to episode 4 of Talking Pathways. I'm here with Mr. Perry Power, the man himself. So welcome to our 4th episode. Hope you're having a good week. As always, we're Talking Pathways. This is our fortnightly series where we bring you one key concept topic that we're going to deep dive into. And I draw in one expert, one person who I really respect in their field, who we can really pick the brains of. And as always, with Talking Pathways, it's about giving you practical golden nuggets that will stop you in your mental tracks, help you to evaluate where you are in your journey, both personally and professionally, and give you 1 or 2 golden nuggets, ideas, strategies that will just help you to be the best you can be and really drive your business growth. You're only ever one pathway away from building the business of your dreams. So, firstly, Perry, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. G.
And I need to give you a congratulations first. So it's very timely having Perry on this morning because he has just been recognised this week as being one of the top 15 influencers in the estate agency market. And there's some real big hitters and names up there. So Mr. Power, that is well deserved because I know how much effort you put in and how wide you throw the boomerang in trying to change the face of the estate agency. So congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It's nice to be, I think they just ran out of people to put on there, but it was really nice to be recognised for something you're so passionate about, for sure.
No, and I think it's just a testament of all the hours that you've put in terms of adding value and helping people to be the best they can be, particularly within that estate agency market. So today we are talking about why knowing your purpose is the starting point in building a great business. And I know you're really passionate about this subject, which is why I thought this will be a great frame for us to talk about. And particularly at the start of 2021, being really clear about your purpose and really setting yourself up for success, particularly in the environment we're in, I think is really important. So just before we delve into that subject and we go deep with it, do you want to give some background in terms of, for our listeners, in terms of what you do and a little bit more about you from a personal perspective?
Yeah, so my name's Perry Power. Lovely to meet you all. I own and run Power Bespoke estate agents. We enable people to move on to the next chapter of their life. We'll come on to that in a minute. Started when I was 15 in estate agency as a Saturday boy, full-time straight when I left school, and just been obsessed by it ever since then, and obsessed with what it does for people when it's done in the right way.
Brilliant. And let me just be clear on one thing. Perry Power is not a stage name. That's actually his original name. A number of times I get asked, Perry, is it Perry Power? Is that his stage name? Has he done a name change? But no, that is what a great name, A, from an individual perspective, but also in business and being a key influencer within the industry. Perry, why did you get started in estate agency? What was the driver?
So I was 12 years old, and when I decided that I would one day own my own estate agency to make a difference to the industry, because of my mum at the time, single mum, had a terrible experience with an estate agent that led her almost to a breakdown. And because I was 12 years old, but I was quite involved in the viewings, the decision making, I was really close with my mum when she was viewing houses and stuff. I could just see that the agent was just handling her terribly. And even at 12, I was like, surely it's not this bad. And so, yeah, that was my, I guess, trigger when I decided that I would do it in a better way.
And it's been your passion ever since?
Ever since. By the time I was 12 and a half, my lunchtimes at school, geeking out here, but they were spent in the Learning Resource Centre researching how to become an estate agent and that kind of stuff. It's mental.
And Perry, how early on and how important is this whole subject that we're talking about today about purpose and really knowing your purpose and then being able to translate that into a compelling vision or mission for a business? How critical do you think that is?
I think without one, you would give up at the first challenge, because I've had to continuously revert back to it to help it push me through challenging times. And it's something you should always revisit as well. Last year is a good example. Even I was challenged to the point of like, is it really worth all this kind of mission and vision that I'm trying to achieve? And it absolutely is, because the next day you get a client ring you up that's been signed into a 30-week contract and had no viewings for 2 months. Like, it's all that kind of stuff about estate agency that really pushes me through.
And how do you translate? So what I hear a lot is, and I think this is a mistake, particularly when people set up their business early on, the number of times I've heard people say that work in a business, but that's not my vision or mission or purpose. That's the owner's vision or mission or purpose. So how do you make sure that, I mean, your driver was, you've got a very personal story because of what happened with your mum that channeled you to go into a estate agency. But how do you make sure that it doesn't just become a business owner's vision or purpose, and actually it gets translated into something that, as you employ more people, that they can really connect with, that becomes their motivation, that becomes their driver as well?
So I think you don't keep them in the drawer in your office, this vision, mission, values, purpose. You need to live and breathe them. Like, a big thing that I decided early on is, because I wanted to enable more people to move on to that chapter of their life, and I really wanted to improve the industry, one move and one experience at a time, that you don't just say that, you kind of do that. So I was putting out loads of seller moving home advice content that would, if they watched the content and implemented it, watched a video on Facebook, it would help them move. It would enable them to move. If they were tied into a contract that estate agents tie you into that I despise, I was putting out content on how to get out of them. And you just got to not just it be something that sits on your office wall. You need to actually, day by day, live it out there. Yeah. Massively.
And how does so when you think about, because I know people get confused between this language of what's the difference between a purpose, what's the difference between a mission, what's the difference between a vision? I mean, we could spend all this session talking about those, but in your mind, have you translated those, and how do you attach buckets, or have you kind of connected or joined those dots up?
So I think it starts with, and you helped me a lot with this, it all feeds down from the vision, the mission, the purpose, and the values. And I think when we first met, I had 6 values that I couldn't remember. Do you remember that day?
I do. I remember it well.
And then you were like, I think one of them needs to be simplify everything. I like, love it. Let's go with that. But that is so telling, because when you come back to your question, like, you just got to keep reminding yourself that fundamentally, and I've battled these around because I want to change estate agency, but it doesn't really need changing, because the fundamentals of estate agency are actually incredible. Like, people are helped through life-changing experiences. Why do you want to change that too much? We just want to improve the process of that and how they're handled during that change and transition. So the main one, without getting too confused of it all, is just that, guys, we are here to improve people's lives when they're moving on to the next chapter of their lives, pretty much. And you then start, when you're putting that out there, you then start to attract. So I think as of today, we've got 39 agents on our waiting list to join the business. And you just really start to get people, when it's authentic mission and purpose and vision, which I think a lot of people just copy other people's, it goes wrong. When it's authentic and it's deep wired into everything you do, and I make mistakes, of course I do, everyone does. Some of our team might at times think that I'm not even living our own, simplify everything, when I'm actually overcomplicating it. But it's, I sometimes come back to them and root back to them as well.
So you've got this lofty vision about changing the way that a estate agency operates because it's broken and so forth. How does that translate? So for the agency you currently have in the 39 on the waiting list, how does that translate into a compelling mission that gets them connected when they think about going to work every single day, that inspires them, that gets them focused? How have you translated that big lofty vision, if you like, into something that's really tangible, that people can buy into, that people can go, I can deliver that every day?
So it comes down to, so I guess when you come down to one of the big things that we're really hot on is self-improvement. And so the huge value that we add to clients, forget that we're there to improve it and stuff, but at ground level, we're there to use our negotiation expertise to really benefit a client's move, whether that's on their sale or their purchase. And when you start to show people that part of what we're going to be doing is serious self-improvement, you need to be really owning negotiation as the only probably skill that the home mover is going to be employing you for. Yeah, it's nice to get updates, that's a given. But when you start to realize that through training and negotiation ability, you can really help more people because you can negotiate yourself better outcomes and clients a better outcome, then people really buy into that.
And you've got your mission, if you like, really tight, haven't you now? Because I know you talk about enabling people to move on to the next chapter of their life. It's on your website, it's on the home page. So is that like your flashing North Star, the beacon that you just kind of absolutely hotwiring everybody around?
Yeah, and I think, and you helped me solidify this, and it was enabling, I think, is an incredible word that you helped put into our vocabulary, because that's what we do. Many a time, 40%, 45% of our clients come to us from another estate agency that unfortunately weren't able to help them move. So like, we are the key that unlocks them to move it a lot of the time. But then the word more is really important, because you can never, it's not like enable 100 people to move on to the next chapter of their life. We're always striving for more and improvement. So that overruling, onto the next chapter of their life is a huge thing. We're not just selling houses for the highest price we can, but sometimes we have to accept a lower offer on a house for the client to achieve their dream house that they really love, to move quickly, to enable them to move on. So it's not all about, we'll get you the most money for your house. It's about, tell me what your goal is as a seller. I'm moving to Cornwall and I want 100 grand nest egg in the bank. Perfect. Let's talk about that and let's make it happen.
And let's make this really practical. So when you think about whatever language you're going to choose to use that vision or purpose, and I think the explanation you gave there, enabling is it's not passive, it's active language. So every day you can get behind that, and you can think about, right, what are going to be my actions, my behaviors that are going to enable more people to move on to the next chapter of their lives. And I guess it informs your performance culture, doesn't it, Perry? Because actually, instead of saying how many houses have you listed today, or how many houses have you sold, or how many houses have you done a valuation on, changing the language and actually relating it to the vision or mission and saying, how many people have you helped to move on to the next chapter of their lives today, creates a far stronger emotional connection, with your team, but also with the customer.
It helps, like, as well. A really good example, I had a client recently come to me that I was trying to enable him for 18 months, but he just wasn't listening. In a nice way. I was like, "Ow, let me take over, mate. Your marketing's terrible and I'll get you moved, I promise." But it was with a big, well-known brand, and there's little old me. And I just kept on it for 18 months, and we took it on the market, and I think it's probably 6 weeks later, we just got an offer that we're about to tie up and negotiate, and we're going to get him moved. So it's hanging on to that. I'm like, no, I know I can get Al moved. His marketing's terrible that he's currently got with his other agent, and that tenacity to, I know I can do it. I know I can enable him to move. I just got to keep on him, and in a nice professional way, and it come good.
And we've talked about this before, because we did the acid test. So when you think about, and I want to make this really practical for our listeners today, and one of the actions I want people to be able to go away from this session today, Perry, and do is almost do a mini audit and ask themselves and really challenge and look in their mirrors about, have they got a compelling purpose and a really strong why they do what they do? Yours comes from a very personal space of seeing your mum almost have a breakdown because, going through the process of selling a house. So your why is really strong. And, whenever you get a wobble or you feel like it's hard out there, when you anchor back to that, that becomes almost your core, that is the catalyst that makes you then kick on to the next level. And then how that's informed your mission that you've got now about enabling people to move on to the next chapter of their lives. So I want people to be able to go away and audit, is your why really strong? Are you really clear on why you do what you do? And the second is, how does that why then inform and create a vision or a mission for your business that isn't just ring fenced around you, that your team, partners, suppliers, even customers, and I want to talk to you about customers at the moment, about whether you use your mission with customers, but everybody's got to be able to get connected with it. because when they're connected with it, then head and heart, people don't just come into work on a daily basis and swap their contractual hours and the logical connection. If you get your mission right, would you agree, Perry, that there's an emotional bond and connection that you create with your people?
Yeah. And I think the start of our mission, forget the first bit, enabling more, blah, 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 but the whole next chapter of their life, when you and I speak to quite a lot of estate agencies, it's very rare that comes up because that's an emotional connection with clients. It's not a physical bricks and mortar connection. And it just happens to be that we're doing it. There's no mention in there in that mission of by selling houses. It's just literally we're enabling people to the next chapter of their life. You could be a divorce solicitor with that mission because it just so happens that we're doing the property and estate agency part of that.
And Perry, how early in a business's life cycle do you think it is to really invest the time, the energy, and the focus to really get your why and your purpose and your vision and your mission nailed? Is it something you do when your business is 4 years into its journey? Is it something you do, 10 years down the line? How early would you advise business leaders to nail and invest the time to get this right?
If you can immediately, like I'm starting a business, what's it there to do, as opposed to a year later. But sometimes people don't do that because they weren't as fortunate sometimes, maybe some business owners, to have a real eye-opening experience early on in their life. But when you dig deep, and we've done it at our kind of boot camps and stuff, when you dig deep, some incredible things come out of people when you push enough for it. But then if you've thought, wow, I've been in the trenches for a year, what am I actually doing? What is my mission? You just need to really block out your diary, turn your phone on do not disturb, walk for 4 hours, and just really think about it deeply. And then I think what I've learned recently is it's also really important to reconnect with that on a yearly basis as well, because it can. Yeah. Facebook's mission's just changed. Did you know that? Or about a year ago. So Facebook, it was, I think, early doors, something like connecting the world or something like that. And now it's creating communities around the world. So they've had a real change in their pivot, in their mission as their business is changing. What's incredible for us is we've had a similar thing, but you see, for us, it's enabling more people. Now that ends up being agents who want to change the way they operate and agents who want to move on to their next chapter. So our mission applies for agents and Mr. and Mrs. Guest moving house as well. We want to enable more people, whether they're agents, property owners, move on to their next chapter.
See, that's really clever. I mean, that distinction you've just drawn on there, and I really want people to understand and raise their conscious awareness of what you've just said there. So I know in your model, we use a lot of associate agents who are in essence self-employed, and to be able to have the mission that applies to them as much as it does to the customer is really clever. It's it's called phonological ambiguities, where something has a double meaning and can appeal to two different audiences. So it's really clever. I just wanted to circle back in and ask you one question. Imagine that you were talking to a new estate agent who was setting up Perry, and you asked him why he wants to go into estate agents, and he said he wants to make money. What would you say to
him? Wrong motivation. You need to dig deeper than that. We all know, and I would hope he would know by now, given that he's starting a business, that money is a byproduct of making a difference. But yeah, I would ask him to dig a bit deeper and don't spend a penny on nothing until he's got that rethought.
And that's, that is the bit I wanted to draw out, because I talk in Built to Grow. One of the things I talk about in Built to Grow in chapter 5 is the 2 reasons why you shouldn't go into business. And one of them is to make money. And you articulated it really well there, that money is the byproduct, that you've got to really be making a difference, and you've got to connect with what your purpose is, the value that you're going to add, the difference you're going to make. And actually, if you get the input bowl right in terms of the contribution that you want to make to society, the difference you want to help in helping more people move on to the next chapter of their life, if you focus on the input bowl, the output bowl, i.e. the money, will take care of itself. So,
But I was going to say that just it's important to sometimes be conscious of the money, because someone like me that can get a bit carried away with the latest tech that can improve the business, and then you're running down a rabbit hole and you're thinking, actually, hang on. So there's that balance of it's, what we've learned very quickly is you need to make good money and profit to keep investing in better ways to serve the customer, to give the better experience, and there's a real balance. But definitely the core motivation is I'm really, you particularly have helped me achieve loads with Power Bespoke, and you get to a point where you just become really content. Still want to push and still want to really but I've got no intention of a Lamborghini is not on my vision board. I'm what was a 7-seater Q7 for all my kids, and that's on the driveway now. So it's like it's the purpose now is to enable more people, particularly agents, because when you see so many come on the waiting list and they've clearly seen what we're doing and they've got it, and they probably already connect with what we're trying to do, that's a great way to attract people.
And going back to your point earlier, you talked about if you can find your purpose and define your vision and mission early, because if you don't think about how you set your business up for success, what I'm interested to really draw out is how does the vision and mission, so enabling more people to move on to the next chapter of life and wanting to change the face of the estate agency, how's that evolved and shaped your value proposition for customers? So I know you've got some very distinct things where you are disruptive. For example, you talked about 30-week contracts and stuff. Why are you different? So how's your mission absolutely informed your value proposition to differentiate Power Bespoke in the marketplace?
So I guess that feeds in down to the kind of values that we run the business by. And there were 6, then I met you, then there were 3. But it's really condensed in so our 3 core values that I always relate to. And I'll tell you a story in a minute that was really important, but it's be personable, be remarkable, simplify everything. Now, particularly the simplify everything. And I was Tash, who's my wife, who does the accounts and the bookkeeping for the business. I'm like, how's accounting got so complicated? We just need to completely simplify all of that. And it comes back to no contracts. Why would you have a client spend 20 minutes reading a 30-week contract when you could just eradicate that and simplify, 1, your service, and 2, their decision-making process? So it all stems from those 3 core values, really.
So just thinking about that, just pick up on that point. So whereas the estate agency market in general has 30-week contracts, you don't do any tie-in with clients on contracts.
No, sack us employers today, sack us tomorrow if we're not performing.
And why would you do that? Because then surely you're not locking clients in then.
Yeah, it's a mad, isn't it? You're not locking them in, but they're with you because they want to be with you, because they've chosen you as their partner of choice, and they're enjoying the service, they're getting the results. And our team, it's good for our team to understand that if they drop the ball more than a couple of times with a client, because it happens, clients are, on the whole, are pretty understanding people. But if they drop the ball a couple of times, clients say, look, thanks, mate, I'm off, I'm going to Savills, with no penalties and that's how it should be. It should be like that.
But that shows a sublime confidence in what you do, doesn't it? To be able to go in and you talk about differentiating yourself and why somebody should choose Power Bespoke. So your mission has informed your value proposition that gives you a competitive edge in the marketplace, because you can sit in the living room talking about why you should choose Power Bespoke and you go, there's no contract. We're not going to tie you in for 30 weeks. If we don't deliver on the promise that we commit in, which is to sell your house and help you move on to the next chapter of your life, if we can't do that without tying you into a contract, then we've no right to be sat in the living room. I mean, there's something powerful in that, Perry, isn't there, in terms of as a kind of risk reversal proposition and as a neutralizing the uncertainty and removing the barriers to a customer saying, yes, I want to sign up with Power Bespoke.
And it feels nice, because you mentioned a while back about do we use that language with clients and stuff, and we do, on a lot of our advice communication emails, there's a lot of PS, our mission is to enable more people to the next chapter of their life. If there's anything we can do, fire us a reply, would love to help. Comes back to that, Royston, our mission is to help you, to enable you move on, not to get you to sign a 26-week contract just so we can put it in the drawer and go on to the next property. So it's a very it is really powerful when it's used in the right way, and that comes back to training and as a whole business, it's important that as we grow, probably during the madness of last year, and I need to get better at making sure that everyone is living and breathing and implementing those values and visions and missions. But they haven't changed for 75 years. They've been pretty much the same, and you've really helped to simplify them and solidify them.
But I want to throw it out there that what I'm really seeing and hearing is that when you get that mission and purpose right, it's like a ripple effect. It informs your strategy, it informs your value proposition, it informs your service experience about how you go to market. It gives you a competitive advantage and differentiation. And all that is a ripple effect that's created from going further upstream and making sure that, like you said, you switch off your phone, you go for a 4-hour walk, you go for a run, whatever your mode of where you get yourself into that creative mode is, and you really sharpen why you do what you do at the start of 2021. You really get a compelling vision and mission that everybody can buy into. And, you know, we talk about buying customers. So what you're saying, Perry, is that your vision, mission, you've got to be able to use it with customers. You've got to be able to use it with your team. You've got to be able to use it with partners and suppliers. If you're doing a thermometer check of whether you got it right, it should appeal to all those stakeholders. Is that fair?
Yeah. And it becomes a real, it's like to Tash the other day, I'm like, simplify that. We need to, you know, give me some ideas on how we can simplify it. And then she's like, oh, how can I really simplify this? And it's really important to, because I've created complication. When you lose in the busyness of busyness, sometimes when you're doing your reviews of your business processes and systems and you're like, oh, we need to simplify that. It's just good to revert back to it. Yeah. Or email communication. If I'm having a chat with an agent after 3 months of joining us, checking their sent items, let's say, to review, you know, to give us, I'm like, that's not personable enough. That's a bit too, where's the fluff at the start and the end? Wishing them a good weekend and have a lovely, you know, that needs more, being more personable. And it's just to guide and help them live and breathe our values, because I know it will help them in the long run.
So you're throwing in another piece here, aren't you, about the values as well, which we weren't going to go down the pathway of today, but since you've gone there, would you say the vision and the values are equal weighting and you need to have both in play in your business? Because you're talking a lot about values as well.
Yeah, massively. Because if the mission's what goes on your, you know, if the mission's what goes on your office wall and it's part of your recruitment and it's in the office, the values are how you check emails against, you know, every day, every piece of outgoing communication. That's way complicated, John. You've completely overcomplicated that for the seller. All they need to do is return the contract to their solicitor. That's all. They don't need to know their solicitor's waiting for the PR1 form and the TR1 form. It's just, let's keep it simple for the client.
Yeah. So the vision and the values are bedfellows, and it's important that you get clarity on both of those. So there might be another key action for our listeners today about thinking about, have they got their values clearly defined? Can they reel them off like you can? And you're right. I mean, we laugh about it now, but when you had 6, and I always remember you almost looked embarrassed when I said to you, oh, you've got 6 values. What are they? And you were like, you could do the first one. And then the others were like a complete, and as we always talked about, if as the owner of the business, you can't articulate in a clear, concise way and succinctly and fast what your values are, there's no chance your people are going to be able to do it or your customers are going to be able to do it.
Oh, I know. I mean, laugh more, but I remember that was like a departure lounge at Gatwick when you had a spare couple of hours when we first met. I was like, yes, I'll make you Royston guest. I'd read the book for loads and I was like, it's like a dream. And then one of the first questions is, so what your value? I come out of there thinking, I've failed at the first freaking hurdle. Nightmare. Got there in the end. I think I checked my phone in the end.
No, but you've absolutely got there. And part of talking pathways, Perry, is, you know, is to speed people's journeys up so they don't need to go through the trial and error and probably elongate the journey like you did. And I think what's really compelling for people is that what we've talked about in this half an hour is really practical. You know, the actions are, 1, be really clear about your own personal why and why you do what you do. And it can't be money as the driver. There's got to be a contribution, a value add that you're going to put into the input bowl with money being the byproduct. Translate that why and your purpose into a compelling vision or mission for your business that's going to get everybody connected. And in a world where we're more connected than ever, the question is, are we really connecting? And vision and mission is a way of getting people to truly connect head and heart emotionally as well as logically with what you do. And that you package that together, it becomes your North Star that you aim for. And then I think you've also talked about then about really defining values and getting your values identified. And if vision, mission determines where you're going, the values and behaviors determine precisely how you're going to get there. And I think that's and that's why I think, you know, the way that you talk about them being bedfellows is such, they're so intrinsically linked, they're so important. Perry, let me ask you one final question as we come to the end of the session today, and I'm sure our viewers are going to want you back for more, because I think, you know, what you've got to share is just so profound and practical, and, you know, you are walking proof of the entrepreneur who's out there building a business, making it happen every single day. And that's what I love about Talking Pathways. It's not the theory of it, it's real people doing real stuff every single day. If there's any final lessons that you thought you'd want to share with our listeners about, you know, growing your business, being the best that you can be, what would you share?
Get the right advisor, and that comes from, you know, I'm forever grateful to you for when I stalked the hell out of you because I needed some advice, and it was you know, that point was a pivotal change in our business. My journey as a business leader, but also the business's journey, because probably wouldn't have survived the year after I met you, kind of thing. So it was a really get the right advisors and choose your sources. And that's, I think choosing your sources is a really big thing, because whether it's you, whether it's someone else, whether it's me, whoever it is, just try and have 3 sources that you really respect. It's the same with news, innit? Choose your 3 news sources. From my property perspective, I only look at Savills market update because they're, you know, projection, because they're one of the best in the world. The 20 CI data, and there's another, IMLA is another one that I've found recently. But when you're taking advice, you know, John down the pub don't know. You really don't know. Find the right sources of information to help you push forward. And I think that's you know.
Yeah, I think that is such a powerful, because we live in the information age, don't we? And we're constantly getting bombarded with emails and specialists who say, oh, we've got the advice, we've got the holy grail, we've got the golden bullet. And I think if you're not careful, you can take advice from so many people that you end up doing nothing with it. Whereas what I really like about what you've talked about, and I do the same, I've got a couple of sources that I go to. You know, we're building Pathways at the moment, and I've got 3 sources that are absolutely my mentors, my guides, my North Star, that I really respect because they've been there, done it, got the t-shirts. They're a proven entity. So I really like that in terms of choose your advisors carefully. And if there's one more, what would the other one next thing be? Putting you on the spot.
Get yourself signed up to Pathways.
No.
No, but I'm not even joking though, because let's not forget, I'm very fortunate to have you help me to coach and mentor me, but I'm logging into Pathways, and the results it's throwing out are incredible. Some real actionable stuff that I can go in and implement tomorrow in the business. You and I are both busy, and if I'm a beaver, you know, I'm sitting out at midnight some nights, sitting on my computer because I'm a night owl. I actually got out of bed unusually early for this amazing live with you, but it's so important. It's a really, when you get into it and you start seeing the results that it can throw out when you implement them, it's incredible. So that is a serious, it's a serious tip. Get signed up.
Can I just let me give my third one then, just to build on that before we kind of bring it to close. Tash, I think every entrepreneur, business owner needs a supportive partner, whether they work in the business, whether they don't work in the business, because I know the hours that you work, Perry, and behind you is Tash, who you know, I know you do a lot with the kids as well, but Tash, who keeps the house together, you know, she works as well. So I think there's an importance, isn't there, for every entrepreneur, business owner, business leader. If you're really going to be successful professionally, you've got to make sure that your foundation, i.e. your home life, is solid, and that you don't neglect it, but also that you've got somebody there who's massively supportive. And you're very lucky and fortunate that you've got Tash behind you, because she is massively supportive and bought in, and you're both on a journey together, aren't you, and aligned in what you're doing.
Massively, yeah, totally agree. She'll kill me for not saying it myself, but thanks to Royston for saying that, because you're absolutely right.
I might get me a gold star anyway. So, as always with Talking Pathways, you can get this on playback and go back through it, because I think there's a lot of golden nuggets that Perry's talked about today. My challenge for you is take action, achieve more. What is the one thing that you're going to go away from today and do? Talking Pathways is not designed to be something that's passive or just a nice tick box exercise. It's designed to be insights, practical ideas, strategies and tools that you can take away and implement. And I know I'm going to do it, but if you've not read Built to Grow, go and get your copy. Chapter 5 talks all about what we talked about today, vision. And as Perry said, if you go to growthpathways.com, if you're on the platform already and you're a subscriber, make sure you go to Growth Enabler number 1 about business purpose, aspirational goals and growth strategy, because there's a whole questionnaire and there's a plethora of tools there that will help you to shape your vision mission. And if you're not on the platform yet, then the great news is you can do a 14-day free trial. All you need to do is go to growthpathways.com, put in your details, and it will give you a 14-day free trial. Choose Business Purpose Growth Enabler, and you'll be able to access all the tools and the content and everything else that's there. So Perry, listen, thanks very much. I know you're busy. Thank you for tuning in with me. I'm sure we'll have you back on Talking Pathways again in the future. And from Perry and I, thanks for listening. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.